I do enjoy this time of year. The festival often brings much needed joy to the people of Middenheim. It allows them to be a little less stern and serious. It's always been a pleasure to watch in my many, many years as master of the hunt. Humans can be so noisy, but there is something about them that does make me smile. I know that is a strange thing to say considering my heritage, but well, I have lived among them for quite some time now. Still, this year, there is a darkness hanging over the city. It fills me with great unease. I do worry there is more to it than the simple squabbling humans often have over things regarding money and property. I should not judge them so harshly. While we like to hide it, even my people can be divided. Even our closest kin in Athel-Loren do not truly see kinship with us of the Lorelorn, even though humans seem to think we're all simply elves who live in woods. Still, this darkness is troubling to me. R'lyeh thinks it is nothing new. To think there are some in the city who think he is somehow linked to this darkness. It would almost be humorous if it wasn't so troubling. Granted, he does not help matters if I am honest. He does often voice his opinion on the dwarven population of the city. I can't blame him entirely, though. It's not all his fault. The rift between our kind and theirs is long in the making, and sadly I do not see it getting mended anytime soon. I can only hope that this darkness passes, and hate to see calm to this city. The city that I suppose I consider my true home. This is Red Moon Roleplaying. Heynrik, Shilf. You wake up, but you're not in your bed. In fact, you're not even in your nightwear. You're standing, fully clothed, sword at the ready. You're in a dark tunnel in front of a prison cell. You recognize this prison cell, of course. You've been here before. And your sword is where it was back then. Currently in the creature that was once your father. Your father is staring at you, his eyes vacant. There's no one else here, though. There's no noise from the others, no other prisoners. Just you, and your father, and your sword. What do you do?
I am as sure now as I was then, but that doesn't make it feel any better. I remember exactly how my hand was shaking, and how hard it was to find where to stab in between what were very nearly tears. But no matter how hard the decision was to make, it was the right decision.
Still, for some reason, your hand isn't moving as fast as it did. It's moving a lot slower. Your father tilts his head and looks at you. And when he speaks, you know immediately that this is not your father. Your father didn't ever speak like this, not in the past, and certainly not in that moment. Well, I'm certainly glad to see you, Heynrik. I was really worried for a moment there. I thought you'd given up on the game. But better late than never, I suppose.
Do I recognize this voice?
No. You just know it's not your father. It's not how your father speaks.
It's a strange place to meet a new friend. Who are you?
Have you forgotten me already? I'm hurt. But don't worry. I have that effect on people, I suppose. There's a little bit of a shimmer in front of you. Smoke. Purple smoke. And then your father's no longer there. Instead, someone else is behind you. A tall man wearing a ugly blue tunic with an awful haircut. A bob-headed thing and a long nose. This man bows. Perhaps this face is more familiar to you, no? Or not. I do sometimes like to keep a low profile. People rarely remember me at all.
These are a demon's tricks, and in my dreams I prefer not to play demon games. And I will attempt to wheel around, blade in hand. I'll find a second heart in my sleep.
Do you move forward to strike your foe?
I don't want to actually thrust through his ribs, but a nice threatening gesture, that's right up Heynrik's alley.
The man smiles and looks at your blade. That's right. That's why I like you, Heynrik. No brains, just action. Come on. Stab me right here in the heart. It'll make you feel better, I'm sure.
Whoever this is, he's not wrong. I wield a blade blessed by Sigmar. And dreaming or not, I'll run him through.
You run the man through. He shivers, he twitches, and vanishes into smoke. And then a little boy appears behind you with an equally bad haircut. Fun, but a little bit. I've done this game before, Heynrik. We can keep this up all night if you want, but it doesn't really achieve anything, does it? Not here.
What do you want?
I want to have a chat. I like you, Heynrik. My master wouldn't like you that much. People like Siegfried are more their cup of tea. No, you're more for the throne, putting skulls on it and all that. They're simpler people, those who worship deer corn.
You serve. I'm going to reach into my brain to remember a word that Siegfrieda said, and then immediately told me we should not say. You serve Tzeentch.
Well done. Who told you that? Siegfrieda, I bet. Or did you actually come up with that all on your own? I'm only teasing, Heynrik. I like you because you don't think. Because you only focus on the immediate. You have no idea what happens, why it happens, but you do it anyway. Or, well, if the other two tell you to. It's quite entertaining.
And this is how your master works? Taunts in dreams?
Oh my, no, this is how I work. I wouldn't presume to do anything in my master's name like that.
And you still haven't mentioned who you are.
The being shrugs. They turn to smoke again. Once again, they are your father. Or this time, how your father was, before whatever happened to him. Well, boy, I have many names, don't I? So, which name would you like? If you must have a name for me, I suppose Gideon's a fun one. That, what's his name? The gentleman in a Bogenhofen, he liked that one. I like that one. Gideon, that's a fun one. But, you know, I have hundreds of others.
Let it never be said I'm not an accommodating man. If that's what you want me to call you, when I eventually find you, and eventually kill you, that's fine with me.
The figure turns to smoke again. This time they're not someone you recognize at all, just a woman with long red hair wearing rags. Oh, my dear, don't worry. When we finally meet, I will tell you who I am. I like people to know who I am when I win the game. But kill me. No, no, no. I have bad news. Has no one told you? You can't kill a demon. Oh, you can smash them up good. You can send us away. But I'm afraid that's something they don't want you to know. We're immortal, not like you. I can never die, so you can never kill me. But, maybe you can win the game. It's a fair game after all.
Demons play fair games.
I always play fairly. It's more fun that way.
Uh-huh. And what are the rules?
Well, to start with, how are we doing? How are we doing in Middenheim? Found any purple hand yet?
We seem to have been distracted in other matters.
You have. Hardly befitting a witch hunter you're supposed to be? If I didn't know any better, I'd say you were playing at old games, looking at tournaments and thinking of glory. I thought that's not who you were anymore.
I don't know entirely who I am anymore. That's part of the journey, right? Finding it out. Isn't that what your kind are all about? All the different paths that people can take? I would think that this is right up your alley.
The woman vanishes in smoke. Comes back again as that first man with the terrible haircut. Exactly. Now you see why I like you. Yes, you're right. Change is vital. People who don't change stagnate. Now, grandfather might enjoy that sort of thing, but not my master. Change is vital. You need to change, and in changing you will become stronger, you will become better. That is a good thing. We're seeing eye to eye, Heynrik.
Somehow, I doubt that.
Well, keep at it. Keep up the good work, keep playing the game, and that will be just fine with me. See if you can find me. The important thing is to know that in the end it won't really matter. You're not a big hero. You and your friends. You're not from the stories of legend. You don't have any Warhammers. You won't be able to stop it. But maybe you can try. I'm willing to give you that.
I can't help but notice you still haven't told me the rules.
I prefer people to find out the rules on their own terms. It's more fun. But I'll let you ask me a question while we're here in your dreams. He comes forward and lays a hand on your shoulder, squeezing it slightly.
Any question in a demon's answer, well. The cult in Middenheim. The one we are here to burn out at the roots. Who's in charge?
Someone who wants to be the power behind the throne.
An answer as much as I expected. One that describes, what? How many people are in this city? 10,000? So 9,999 of them want to be the power behind the throne?
Well, I'll give you that. It is someone in the city.
You are exceedingly helpful.
I know. I'm glad I could be of service. I do like to serve, you know. I hope I brought a smile to your face. That's something I enjoy. Smiles, laughter, entertainment. Not everyone gets it. You know, once I closed the gates of the great citadel, and, dear Boombringer, Blood Chanter, he didn't like that, not one bit. Some people can't take a joke.
What happens if I lose this game?
What happens when you lose the game? Oh, nothing too serious. Just the end of your empire.
And if I win?
I suppose you'll live happily ever after. For a time.
No small feat, then.
Indeed. Lovely talking to you, Heynrik. Again, you're almost my favourite. Although really, he whispers in your ear, Siegfrieda's my real favourite. But don't tell her that. And he winks.
Oh, I wouldn't worry about that. Your secret is safe with me.
and the figure vanishes into purple smoke. Silently, there's no laughter here. You're just left alone for a time in that cell, in that place that no longer exists, before suddenly waking. Kruger and Siegfriede, it is the morning of the third day of the festival, and you awaken once again in your room at the Templar's Arms. It was quite a night, especially for Kruger, who you're still a little tired after all that running you did. But here you are once again, nice and safe. You are woken up quite abruptly, Siegfriede, by a furry friend jumping on you and loudly demanding in various barks that it's feeding time. Something you've noticed seems to happen in the mornings now.
Oh, piss off, Heynrik, and then I realise. Oh, Erica. Lots of snuggles. Okay, let's get up. Let's get you something to eat. Quick walk outside.
Erica is very keen to bark a lot, run around you a lot, and also want to be let out. You think during the night, actually, several times you heard a scratching at the door coming from her, and you realise, unfortunately, from the smell that, she tried to get into the area where the privy is, but being a dog didn't quite understand how it worked.
No, well, who can blame her, honestly? I wasn't, I still got things to learn as a dog owner. Waking up in the middle of the night, well, it's a small price to pay for protection and companionship. So I'm not going to put that on the maids of the Templar's Arms to clean up. I can manage that myself. Certainly I've managed enough effluvia in my time. A little bit of mess from a dog is nothing. But I will. Am I sharing a room with my companions?
Yes.
In that case, I'll say, Heynrik, Kruger, watch out for that. Don't put your foot in it.
Heynrik, from a dark, lonely place to once again being here in safety with your friends. What do? You remember everything from your dream.
Waking without the usual slow stammer of someone who is not a morning person. There's absolutely no joy. Just making eye contact with Siegfriede, who I assume is being slightly jovial despite the circumstances. And it is obvious in my face that something has gone awry. And just a blinking, cold, slow, trying to keep the details of the dream before they flitter away into ephemera.
I am sorry, Heynrik, seeing your expression. I'm sure she won't do this all the time. I'll get it cleaned up, don't worry.
Do you know someone named Gideon?
Do I?
No, Siegfriede, that name does not ring a bell off the bat.
I shake my head. No, I don't. Gideon? No. I mean, I've probably heard the name spoken, and seen it written, but I can't say I've known anyone by that name.
I had a visitor in a dream.
And I've heard this as well, right? This conversation.
You have heard this conversation, Kruger, and for you it might have a bit more relevance, especially when he says visitor in a dream. It wasn't long ago that you had a visitor in a dream, after all. As for the name Gideon, it's very, very vague, but wasn't there something that man, Johannes Tegan, the merchant, before his death, wasn't he saying something about, help me, Gideon? And of course, well, there was that person there. You haven't really been thinking about them, but there was someone else in the town of Bogenhafen, wasn't there? A man with a terrible haircut.
Ah, Gideon? Yeah, that name does ring a bell. That was the last thing that Tegan yelled before his untimely demise. And I have this vision of a man with a terrible haircut.
And of course, a little boy with a terrible haircut. A little boy standing outside places where councilmen were getting brutally murdered.
A terrible haircut and purple smoke and a little boy and all the things that you don't want to remember from your real life. Is that any recollection?
Yeah, that's it. That's it right there. I mean, it's real.
I don't think that makes me feel any better. Well, yes, I don't remember how the dream started. I just know that I was there in the castle underneath, in Sigfrida's new holding, as it were. All he could talk about was games and powers behind the throne and speaking in riddles.
I too have had visitation in my dreams. I didn't really think too much of it at the time, but, well, it's not exactly a surprise at this point that there's a lot of powers that are moving, and not all of them are mundane. We're part of something bigger, I'm afraid.
I'm shaking my head. I've had dreams from time to time that have seemed real, and, even occasionally imagined people speaking to me in them, but then I finished shaking my head. I don't think it's any great surprise that given the things we've been through, we would be prone to some hallucinations, delusions. We're not exactly at a place of peace, even if we have enjoyed ourselves a little more recently. And now I'm not saying that we're not receiving visitations in the night. Given everything again that we've encountered, it is quite possible. But we should strive to not become subject to them, shouldn't we? Anything that comes to us in a dream, let's be clear, it's either our stress manifesting and unlikely to lead us to the right course, or it is someone trying to interfere with us. If there was a even-handed person, an open-minded person, someone who was working to the same agenda as us, then surely we would, surely they would come to us openly.
One would think so, yes.
I didn't get the impression that this Gideon was up to any good. Does this mean for him to make it into my dream, and I'm just gesturing kind of towards my head, towards my body. I don't want to say the P word out loud or the C word. Obviously, though, asking if this is a sign of chaos, corruption, or possession.
The honest truth there, Sigfrida, is you would have no idea. You were never taught what exactly chaos corruption entails, largely because if you were being taught it would be implied that you were part of it, and you're aware that most physicians don't want to be burned at the stake. They already have plenty of reasons for people to want to burn them regardless.
I doubt it. I doubt that any of us are contaminated, infected. I mean, think of it, Heynrik, the way that we act, the things that we do, the people that we fight, and the people whom we serve. If we are agents of chaos, or are becoming them, well, they make terrible choices because it seems we've done nothing but oppose chaos since we started on this road.
Oh, he kept saying something about games and plans and...
Did they mention Caster Lieberung?
No, he gave me the chance to ask one question, and I asked who was in charge of the Purple Hand in Middenheim, and he said the power behind the throne, and just riddles and...
Well, I'm glad that they didn't mention Caster Lieberung. I've heard that name enough.
I have a new name to worry about. And through all this, I'm not going to vocalize. I do trust my friends, but I don't want to pile on. But Sigfrida's dismissal notwithstanding, I just know that my father was twisted up by chaotic forces, and now there's a demon in my dreams. So there's just this constant visage of rumination passing over Heynrik.
Indeed. And what about you, Kruger? Sigfrida has made a very good logical argument, but, well, yes, you had dreams as well. Not recently, but back when you were on the boat, and you do now find yourself remembering what happened in Bogenhof, and still so many questions there, especially as well. Well, something killed that bounty hunter, didn't it? And there was something at the end there as you ran from that warehouse, something that was very much not human. Maybe you'd hoped that was all behind you, but what if it's not the case?
Oh no, I fully expect that these things are going to find us at some point. I mean, there's many big things afoot in the Empire and beyond, and a lot of powers are moving, in fact. Both mundane and those more chaotic. So it doesn't surprise me on some level, but I do wonder why we are the targets of all this. Are we that important, truly? I suppose we should be honored that we have been selected with these dreams than both you and myself, Heynrik. It's makes it special. I smile.
This isn't quite the special I had in mind when we started this adventure. Is it too late to change what I ordered?
And as your two friends are lost in their conversation, Siegfrieda, you, being the one closest to the door, will hear then the loud, measured knocking.
Yes, who is it?
The door opens immediately. Coming through are two people you recognize. One, a very grumpy-looking dwarf, currently dressed in travelling leathers, with pipe in hand, and one, dressed in a travelling cloak, but underneath that, still a bit of a hint of a fine dress, with a pistol attached. Lady Emmanuel Knack. She walks straight in, sits down at a table. The dwarf quickly ushers in Zelda, who follows behind them, bringing a fresh breakfast with some drinks, including something that might be fresh morning coffee. And Lady Emmanuel Knack starts to drink said coffee from a cup and looks at you all. Well, some of the people in my department are going to be very upset that they are going to be losing a few gold crowns. They did have a bet that you all would have fled on the first day, so they're not happy with you, but I actually am. You're still here. Well done. That's given you a few points. But we don't have much time to tally. Your briefing, or rather your report. Go on. What have we found? Please help yourself to breakfast.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
I'll look to Siegfrieda, being the one who has read most of the documents and things, and might be the best one to express what we have found. Perhaps even showing off the documents, I think to myself.
That may be the best course of action. I'm a little stunned that she's just walked in here, though I suppose I shouldn't be. We are basically hers to do with as she wishes. I must leave here briefly, however, because I have a dog and it needs to go outside, if you catch my meaning. While I'm out, why don't you have a read of the documents we found, and then I'll come back and my companions and I can fill in any blanks.
She nods swiftly, extending a hand for the papers.
Oh, and watch where you put your feet, please. I quickly head out. Well, in fact, I grab the paperwork from the side of the bed, opening up my small chest to access them.
When you hand over the paperwork, do you hand over all the paperwork, including the note from a certain someone telling you to not investigate things anymore?
I'm really not sure. Obviously, I don't have anything. I'm certainly not handing her anything that connects me to Wittgendorf.
No, none of those papers, of course.
Or my false ID or anything like that, because, well, that isn't germane to the case, as it were.
Indeed. So currently, then, it would be the cipher, the one note about the orders. So that's two things. It would just be a case of, yes, is it the third item as well, which was the warning?
The one that was specifically directed to us.
Yes.
Yeah, actually, I don't see a problem with that, because I imagine she's then going to ask, why did they know about you? And we can quite openly say, well, they've been tracking us for quite some time, and it's only fair, or only reasonable, that they probably anticipated we would find their base operations. So yeah, I'll give her all 3 pieces, and then I will leave with Erica.
Erica follows you quite happily, and you run into Zelda outside, who gives you a bit of an apologetic. Oh, I'm sorry. She just came straight in. She's quite not too keen on being announced. But it's all supposed to be hush hush. Oh, little doggy, and the dog licks Zelda, and Zelda gives the dog a bit of a pet.
Oh, that's lovely. Thank you, Zelda. But Erica does need to get outside.
Oh, of course she does. She needs to go to the bathroom. I can tell. Have you not had a dog before, Miss Siegfrieda?
I didn't realise you could take a dog to the bathroom.
Well, no, you let them outside in a garden or a...
Oh, you were speaking metaphorically.
You're funny, Frau Siegfrieda.
Well, that isn't a claim many have made. Anyway, please, we'll be back anon.
And Siegfrieda, with Zelda and the dog, exit, leaving you, Kruger, and Heynrik with Lady Emmanuel Knack, who looks over the papers very quickly, looks at the dwarf, who you remember would be Herr Barak. Well, this is something, but what have you actually found out? You do speak words, don't you, Mr. Kruger? I want your actual report, not just these papers.
Oh, of course. What we have found out thus far, and feel free to jump in whenever you want, Heynrik, to add to this, is that there are a number of things happening in the city that the Purple Hand are involved in this tax thing that's going on. Now, there seems to be a lot of interest that they have in the levying of these new taxes and the conflict that is likely to generate, especially given that it's targeting specific groups in the society in a rather unfair fashion. We found out that High Chancellor, Lady Sparsome, that she is most likely connected with them. She seems to have gotten addicted to a, rather dangerous, I suppose, drug. Was it called Ronald's Delight, was it?
Ronald's.
Heynrik just snorts loudly through his nose as Kruger is searching for the word.
Ronald's Delight. And she's apparently being supplied this by a Frau Keener at the pit. And it seems to be some kind of front, perhaps, for the Purple Hand. We're not quite sure of that part yet. We're going to investigate that next.
And of course, there was the safe house that we located through our investigations. Of course, abandoned, as our prey is quite slippery. But we have obviously disrupted their operations if they've had to abandon a base of operations.
She raises an eyebrow, and then Barak leans forward. Wait, what? How did you find a safe house? What led you down that road?
Well, the Purple Hand have been following us for quite a few cities now. Sometimes you just have to follow the line back up. We knew one of their agents was afoot and followed them down into the alt quarter, and, well, by then it was too late, but results.
What do you mean too late? Lady Emmanuel Knack says. What happened? This is important. So you found somehow... Okay, you found maybe the one who escaped us. But then, what do you mean, what happened? You killed them? What information did you get from them?
That's right, I walk in with Erica. Yes, I see my friends have told you about the safe house. I look at them. Well, we were doing some incredible investigation, my lady. We were deep into the guts of these purple-handed swine, and because of the depth of our investigation, they had started sending agents after us again, as it seems they are off to do wherever we go. We followed one of those agents back that we noticed we were being spied upon. Kruger is a wonderful surveiller, brilliant at spotting when we're being watched. And Kruger pointed this person out to us. We followed this agent back to where they came, and we found this rundown building. And now we could see that there was a thick population in there. We were not going to just bust in with no plan. And so we regrouped, and we decided at nightfall, I'm getting caught up in this story now, that we would sneak in then. Maybe find the leader, identify them, or find some valuable artifacts or paperwork or something like that. But wouldn't you know that so malicious are these purple-handed fools, and not only that, but also so paranoid are they, that by the time we arrived, clearly the spy had picked up on our trail, or someone else had, because we found a scene of anarchy, carnage, and death. The spy had been killed, and we found the paperwork that you hold in your hand. Some of it was secreted away, the letter addressed to us, was clearly left because they knew we were coming. So, sadly, our trail was cut short, but it has re-enlivened again. Has one of my companions told you about the Chancellor, High Chancellor?
I did, yes.
Yes. Well, I think that's a fine lead. Fine lead again, but all of us, we're doing such hard work on behalf of the Empire.
I should mention that the person that we found in the safe house, someone had, they'd killed him quite brutally, taken their face off.
The dwarf frowns a little, doesn't say anything. Lady Emmanuel Knight raises an eyebrow, looks between all three of you. Oh my goodness, you three really don't know the meaning of good plans, do you? It's all haphazard and chaotic, but all right. You found a cell. How many... Sorry, you said a scene of carnage. Only one person dead, though? Oh, you know what? It doesn't matter. Fine. You've got some information from one cell. Maybe now you understand what I meant, that sort of thing can lead to a dead end. Still, they have made moves against you. This is good. My lady, they may have made moves against them in the outquarter, but they haven't actually made many moves on them while I've been watching them. Oh? So how many moves have they actually made on you? Remember, part of this I was really hoping was that because of Mr. Kruger's his likeness, they were going to make several mistakes in trying to end you. So they've sent a spy. Is that the only thing they've done? And you found this note at the safe house?
Oh, it's all quite early in the process. We've hoped that by making ourselves... it's been our hope that by making ourselves as obnoxious as possible to their operations, they'll eventually have to take more drastic actions. No doubt, they would prefer to only operate against us, where, and Heynrik is bumbling through this story as he is not as efficacious a liar as Sigfrida is, that we could trick them into acting somewhere more public.
Yes, draw the villains who enjoy the dark out into the lights, where their crimes might be exposed. I'm fairly certain there's some imperial writ about that I remember reading when I was younger.
There is? Well,
I mean, we were given no strategy, Lady Knack, and that isn't as criticism toward you, but we are three... Well, I think it's fair to say, again, looking at Heynrik and Kruger, that we are adventurous, and you could call us adventurers. But secret agents of the Empire, that isn't a profession we've had a great deal of training in, and so you left us to handle things our way, and we thought that this would be prudent. The fact that your man Barrack here didn't notice the spy, but we did, I would not say is any failing of Barrack's. It is just that we clearly have a good eye for who these purple-handed people are. Maybe Barrack couldn't see the wood for the trees. There are so many suspicious people around here, and again, that's through no fault of yours, my friend Dwarf, I say, smiling at him. You had a lot to keep an eye on, and the three of us would often split up across the city. He only has 2 eyes, and I doubt they can head off in different directions at once. Can you do that, Barrack? I've seen some people who can make their eyes go in different directions.
You're about to cross a line, miss. No, I can't follow you all the time. I was focusing on things that might be dangerous to you three. So when you were doing things like heading to an opera house and heading, well, I don't know what you got up to in the Oswald quarter, but you're trying to rile me. It's not going to work.
No, it would not benefit me to try and rile you. This is just... I'm trying to explain that it is not your fault that you missed this person.
Enough, Siegfrieda, please. I know you like to speak a lot. You could learn to maybe put your sentences into slightly better orders. I get your point. It doesn't really matter how you found them, I suppose you did. This is good and bad. Finding a cell is good, but unfortunately they're probably now going to close ranks now that a cell has been discovered and infiltrated by people. And they don't seem to know that we're helping you just yet. We can't assume that's going to last forever, but it seems to be lasting for the moment. Here's the important thing. This stuff about the taxes. How much have you actually found out about that? This thing about the High Chancellor is interesting, but I hope you all are aware that until you have proof you're accusing a high-ranking official of being a Chaos cultist, that doesn't go down well. And the dwarf nods sternly. Yes, this... What proof do you have the High Chancellor is actually a member of the cult? If you have it, let us know now.
What we know is that she is utilizing a illegal drug that she had on her person. And we do know that she's getting that from the Alt Quarter, from a Frau Keener in the pit. And the thing we want to find out now is if this Frau Keener is perhaps connected with the Purple Hand, and that they are using this drug as a way of, well, ensnaring the High Chancellor and then forcing her to do their bidding, which, well, that would be a pretty good plan if you wanted to get her to do something.
Certainly would, but again, be careful. It's one thing to be blackmailed, it's another thing to actually be a cultist. You're going to need proof of that. The pit, you said? Yeah, it's a hole somewhere in the Alt Quarter.
Very fitting name, then.
Exactly. You can find all sorts of sin and vice there. Never heard of a Frau Keener, though. But yeah, could be worth looking into, Lady Knack. Well, I'll trust your judgment on that, Barrack. Alright, well this is all pretty good. But it's not entirely good enough, and you're right, Siegfrieda. Maybe I could be more helpful. But you have to remember, as of 3 days ago, you were my number one suspects. Or rather, Kruger was. Apparently, your story might actually be true. We need more. Even if this High Chancellor is perhaps the person we're looking for. Give me your honest assessment. This woman, the High Chancellor, according to Barrack, you did some investigating last night. Do they seem like they could be behind the cult's operations in the city?
Oh, I think it's unlikely that she's behind anything. She seems utterly terrified. Whether she leapt onto this horse of addiction of her own volition, or someone hooked her onto it, I can't say, but I do know enough about medicine to know that a lot of individuals such as her will devote themselves to the dope when they feel under immense strain. I find it likely that she is probably aware of something going on, or that someone is manipulating her into doing something, and this is her way of managing that stress. We saw something similar in Bogenhafen. So the question for us has to be, how far do we push this woman, who is undoubtedly on some level a victim?
Well, if you're right and she is a cultist, then to the limit. Barrack, I'd like you to arrange a meeting with the High Chancellor for these three. I'd like you to be subtle about it. That's one thing I need you to do. A full interrogation. If she is innocent, well, I'll let you handle that side of things, Barrack. Barrack lets out a bit of a groan and goes, ugh. Well, you're lucky, Because even if half the stuff they've said is true, it might not be that difficult to get an interrogation. But yes, I might be able to organise that, but you three need to be very careful. If this woman is not guilty of actual conspiracy against the throne, she's the High Chancellor. Naturally, if she is, of course, gloves can be off.
Well, I suppose we'd better keep digging, hadn't we, before we'd make any kind of sudden moves.
Indeed. And you're going to need to do better. But, again, I might be able to help. She frowns for a moment and looks out the window. Any of you fancy going to a party?
With you?
No.
Well, yes.
She raises an eyebrow and smirks a little. Oh, I'm sorry, am I such a terrible guest?
I would never say, or even imply, that is the case. I'm sure you're delightful, but so far, you've not been our guest.
No, I haven't, and I'll continue not to be. It's vital that my involvement here is kept to a bare minimum. However, I can do something. What's today? 2 days from now, the Graf's garden party. The most important people in the city will be there, basking in the glory of the Graf. I need you there. Here's the thing. It's not good enough, even if this High Chancellor is who we're looking for, because it's still doesn't answer why they're doing this tax thing. Yes, they could be trying to cause issues, but, well, as Barrick will tell you. Exactly. The city already has issues. If they really just wanted issues, they wouldn't have to do anything, and if anything, that would be more to their advantage. There has to be a reason. There's something going on here. Exactly. And we need to find out why. And guess what? That's going to involve who's behind this. If it's not the High Chancellor, it's going to be someone higher than her. Barrick nods at this. Exactly. It won't just be the High Chancellor. There's lots more people involved in this than just one individual. Is that what you're getting at, Lady Act? Precisely. You three are going to be at that party. I'll organise your invites. You're going to need to come up with a cover story. Don't be crazy. Something simple, like merchants or something. And you're going to try and get the why of what's going on. In the meantime, yes, follow up these leads you have, and Barrick here will help you with that interrogation. Any questions?
We won't be expected to torture this woman, will we?
If she is a servant of the Fell Powers, you must do everything in your power to get a confession. If not, though, of course not.
As a physician, dare I say doctor, I'm not sure I would... I can't speak for my friends, but I wouldn't... No. I shake my head at that.
Your enemies wouldn't do the same for you, Siegfrieda, but again, I don't care how you get the information, you just need to get it. People's lives are on the line. And again, I should add, if this High Chancellor is merely being used, then of course not. That will be up to the actual authorities of this city to deal with.
I'm certain it won't come to that. Like we said, though, this woman does not appear in her right faculties. We're going to see who is manipulating her this way and go from there.
Well, good, I approve. Any other questions?
I shake my head. No, not right now, from me at least. I think there might be something later, but for right now?
Yeah, I shrug.
Good, Barrack, you can finish up things with these three. I have places to be. Keep up the good work. Oh, and one more thing, she says just before leaving the room. At that party, for the love of Sigmar, don't do your usual. Don't run around and randomly attack people, please. It won't go well for you.
Is that our usual? Whispering to Kruger.
It seems like we have created that kind of an impression. We should reflect upon the way that we do things. I think maybe we need to do better. Heynrik.
In your defense, Kruger, the chaos that you told her happened didn't actually happen. You actually infiltrated that hideout very stealthily, but you told them that it was all chaos and madness.
Yeah, I think back to previous Chaos and Madness involving donkeys on fire and other things like that. So she has a point, even if it doesn't particularly relate to the safe house break-in.
With that, Lady Emmanuel Knack exits as swiftly as she came in, leaving Barrack. He frowns a little at you three, especially you, Siegfrieda. You three are very odd. You've been up to some things, and I noticed some of the things you've been up to you didn't report to her, but you know what, it's not my business. I'll see what I can do today. High Chancellor's currently home ill after that big stunt that happened last night. And while I don't have any proof that was down to you three, it is funny that I know you three were in the area when suddenly the High Chancellor had that massive nervous breakdown in front of everybody. Apparently someone robbed her.
Shocking, there's a lot of thieves around.
And getting more and more brazen every year.
Not in that part of town, there ain't.
Someone from Marienburg, if I recall.
And they must have been very well accomplished to have escaped the guards.
He doesn't seem amused by any of the things you'll say. He just growls a little and says, Alright, well you heard her orders. I'm sure she can get you invites. Yeah, the Graf's garden party. Just so you're aware, that's the sort of thing where all of the most important people in the city will be attending, including the Graf himself, his children, several other important people, so whatever cover story you come up with, I hope it's a good one.
Well, I already have a gown.
Good. Alright, get to it.
Just before you go, Barrack, if you're arranging this interrogation for us, how much forewarning are you going to give us that the High Chancellor is on her way? I assume you're bringing her to us rather than the other way round.
I'll find you wherever you are, and we'll go to wherever it's happening. I don't know yet where they're going to be. Give me a minute.
Then a minute you shall have.
And with that he nods, and exits himself. And once again, after a very long morning, you are by yourselves. But it does seem as if you have at least survived your briefing. You never know, you might even actually be starting to convince this Lady Emmanuel Knack that you actually are the people you say you are.
I frown, turn from the door now that they're gone. I'm going to sound incredibly ignorant here, both of you, but I wasn't going to ask this question in front of our guests. Who are the Grafs?
Well, it's the leader of the province, the Elector Count, the man in charge, you might say. Boris Todbringer. He brings death.
Ah, yes, it's the Reichland dialect.
And we heard of another Todbringer, right? That was the princess that we saw before, right?
Correct. Princess Katerina Todbringer.
Right, she was visiting the opera.
Oh, in the box, the one I pretty much sent an insulting gesture to.
That doesn't sound like you at all.
Well, to be fair, Sir Creda, you sent an insulting gesture to a very angry-looking old lady.
Yes. Well, someone gave me the evil eye, Kruger, and I thought, well, if I'm looking the part of an aristocrat, I need to respond in kind. If I appeared all meek and buckled, they would immediately see through my disguise.
It sounds appropriate, yes. Etiquette.
Yes. Frankly, they're lucky I didn't throw a knife. But that would have ruined everything. And so far, I don't feel we're on a bad path.
It does seem as if there's a lot to think about. And again, still the morning. You have a whole day ahead of you. This, the third day of the festival.
You have listened to an episode of Red Moon Roleplaying, where we play the legendary campaign, The Enemy Within, for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 4th Edition, published by Cubicle 7. In this third part of the series, we are tackling Power Behind the Throne. Joining us as players in this series are none other than Aaron Hammonds from Queen's Court Games and our dear friend Matthew Dawkins. The music was made by Flowers for Body Snatchers, Wordclock, Metatron Omega, Aegersonus, Apocryphus, Halgrath, and Northumbria, featuring a number of collaborations with other artists, and was used with permission from their label Cryochamber. Check out their website at cryochamber.bandcamp.com or their YouTube channel for some moody dark ambient for your gaming table. We would like to give massive thanks to our champions of the Red Moon, Martin Heuschober, Simon Cooper, David, Julia, Camilla, Bob Lange, Cameron, Antxon, and Graham Barey for their generous support. And we'd of course also like to thank all of our other patrons. Without your support, the show would not be possible. If you want to support our work, please check us out on Patreon. You can get access to bonus campaigns for Cult of Inti Lost and Coriolis there, as well as get early and raw access to all of our recordings. You can also hear your name read on the show as a champion of the Red Moon, as well as play Cult with us. Most importantly, that support is what keeps the show going, so do check us out there. Thank you again for listening, and remember that Skaven are definitely not real. Except, well, who's gonna believe you? Never mind.